Hey everybody. This next module we're going to talk about is fundamentally concerned with trust. It's about responsible research. Responsible research anytime, but currently the big thing everybody's worried about is AI. So we're going to use AI as a major organizing principle, but the lessons we're going to learn, the concepts we're going to cover here apply to any tool, whether that's a generative AI tool, a more traditional tool, what have you. It just seems like it's most appropriate to show examples for most of you in the context of AI because of the great temptation that AI sometimes affords us. Now, I want to talk about, so this is also about trust. How do we as scientists convey trust, engender trust, earn trust from the work we do? So I'm out here right now in Louisiana, and it's really hot. It's about 90. Air temperature is about 90, a little bit over 90. It feels like it's about 105. It's about 85, 90% humidity. And we're out here mapping. So out here mapping with the great Gabriel right there. Like, wave Gabriel, say hi. Yeah, the great Gabriel. So we're out here mapping. We flew in today. We arrived at about, I don't know what time we were, like about 5:30. And we ran straight out here to our site to start mapping. Why? Because of the weather. Because the forecasts say that starting tomorrow, we're going to start to have a bunch of thunderstorms, wind conditions, the types of conditions that are not like what you see around me here, but actually bad and not super safe to use our drones, to fly our drones. I have faith in our weather professionals. I have faith in the meteorologists that when they tell me something, when they say it's going to rain, it's not going to rain, that they're not perfect, but they have a lot of credibility. Now, when I was born and grew up in let's say the early mid 1970s, weather forecasters weren't so accurate. So they were accurate as to like what the current temperature is, what it was going to be in a few hours. But we were really not good at longer term forecasting. Think 2, 3, 4, certainly not 5, 7, or 10 days out. We've gotten tremendously better. Why we've gotten better? A huge investment in basic science, fundamental research, applied sensing, and all this kind of good stuff. And weather people are very transparent when they talk about their scholarship and their research. They say, well, there's a 75% chance it's this, there's a 60% chance of that, etc. The running joke on all the late night shows when I was young was, oh yeah, the weather, like who knows what that guy says if it's real or not real. You don't hear that anymore because this community of scholars, of professionals, have built tremendous amount of trust and have earned that trust. So trust matters, right, you guys? So trust that when we input our coordinates, when we input the wind, when we input the existing environmental conditions, and we need to make sure folks can trust us. Sometimes it doesn't look like it's going to work. Sometimes it looks kind of sketch. And so that trust is what allows us to take the risks and to do the good research and have people believe us and have your drone land safely, for example. You need in your career to always be working on that. So in this module, we're going to talk about several of the aspects that we think are important for you guys to understand. And so you need to go through all these things and really understand how they apply to your particular circumstance. First and foremost, what this module is about is firstly, why research integrity matters in the first place. Right now, our science is under assault in our society. Right now, scientists are under assault. Our funding is under assault. Our conclusions are under assault, etc. And so it's even more important than in the past to make sure that you have rigorous research, that you're following strong ethical standards when you're doing your capstone research or whatever it is. The core principle is that you remain responsible for all the work that you produce. It's not your professor's responsibility. It's not the AI made me do this. It's not my friend said this. You are responsible. And that is a fundamental principle. As we'll discuss in this module, sometimes the use of, let's say, AI or another assister is totally fine. So for example, maybe brainstorming, maybe initial outlining, maybe you don't understand something, trying to get some help understanding the concepts. There's categories where it's totally fine to have the assist. Then there's another broad category of stuff that maybe not. It really is going to be context dependent. So this is going to be things like significant blocks of writing, probably not good. Helping you with coding, right? Like I'm not sure how to do this. So again, it could be fine, but you have to be careful that you don't cross the line. And then we have obviously a totally problematic uses of these tools. So when you offload the cognitive thinking, when you offload the effort, the understanding, the interpretation, etc., to this other tool, that is not an appropriate use. In general, we want AI and all these other tools to be an assistant to us, so not to do the work for us, but to help us get the work done, to be a helper, not to be the main doer of the task. We do know that all of these tools are flawed. AI still hallucinates, AI still makes up references, all that kind of stuff. So perhaps a useful start if you're lost, but be very, very wary of the things that it gives you. You need to double check all of that stuff. And verification is very, very important. So whatever you get from, say, the AI tool, or for that matter, from a research paper, you should double check and make sure that what is being said or what you're taking away really is justified. Also really important here, and is something that maybe you haven't used as much in some of your other courses or some of your more lower division courses, but citations really, really matter. Citation integrity really, really matters. These generative AI tools can be fantastic helpers for finding literature, for discovering new sources of knowledge. That is awesome. I use that all the time, but I never quote the actual reference directly. I would go and say, oh, that's a good one. I'm going to go get it, download it. One, make sure it's real. Two, make sure the things that are being argued in there really are consistent with the suggestion, right? And so again, it's an assist. It's not doing it for me. I'm not going to believe everything that comes out of the mouth of the AI. Next, we want to make sure that we're very transparent. So in your scholarship and your research, when you do use some of these tools, again, we're not banning the use of these tools. We just want to make sure that you're using it appropriately. And in this scholarly training you how to do research, etc., it's best practice for you to disclose how you use that, right? So we have some examples in the module for example statements that you might add, but essentially saying, hey, I use this tool for the brainstorming or some grammar checking, etc. And then I checked it and then I verified, etc. like that. Again, you will not be penalized for that. We just want to get you into the habit of being transparent and all that kind of good stuff. You need so you're responsible for the data, you also own the data. So you need to make sure that you steward it appropriately. So when you collect this data, you're archiving it, you're labeling it, you're making it transparent should other researchers, for example, wish to use that. Sometimes AI, the use of AI or other types of things are put under the plagiarism category, and that can definitely be the case. But more important than just that, it really gets to falsification. So it's not just that you copied somebody else's thing, it's that you are claiming something that isn't factually correct is indeed correct or is true. And so that's a huge problem. That'll really tank your reputation and make getting jobs and things really, really hard if that were to come out, or if that comes out with your employer or whatever the issue is. AI and all these tools can't fix crud. They can't fix weak reasoning. They just can't. They don't, again, these tools don't think. They seem like they think. They're really tricky. They're really elegant. They look like they're thinking. They don't think. So a lot of times their explanations just don't make sense. And so by you being very transparent and by you documenting all this stuff, we can always go back and check and figure things out. So we finished the module with 4 questions. And those 4 questions are, I wrote them down here because I want to make sure I read them exactly. Let's see. 1, am I allowed to use AI in this context, right? So in many of our classes, that's fine, but you need to check with the individual professor, you need to check with your individual project lead, you need to check with your particular company and make sure that it's okay. So that's the first thing. Secondly, am I allowed to share this information? Even though, for example, our current contract with OpenAI does not allow the data you upload to be used as training data, that doesn't mean it's secure. That does not mean it's secure. So if you have proprietary stuff, if you have a partner that, say a research partner, an agency, whatever, that says, hey, this is sensitive information, it has people's identifying info on it, or it has something sensitive, it might be in a lawsuit or something of that nature, you should never upload that to any AI, no matter what it says. That may well be a violation of federal law and state law and definitely ethical principles. So be sure that what you're typing in is allowed to be typed into these tools. Third, am I still doing the intellectual work? Could be assist, could be a help, but is the bulk, is the core, is the heavy lift, is that me? And that always needs to be, yes, it's me. And then lastly, can I verify and defend everything that I write in my final products, in my final report, in my final write-up, in my final presentations, all that kind of stuff. And if you can answer all those well, then you're good to go. Then despite how the tools might change over the years, despite what we're talking about, those are really helpful guidelines that you can stick to and that you can make sure that you're not unknowingly committing a problem and eroding your credibility. Ultimately, this is about, can people believe what I say, right? And believe me, it becomes clear very quickly when folks are not trustworthy or their claims are not don't stand up to scrutiny. We don't want that to happen. So by following these strong ethical guidelines, you can avoid many of these traps. So look forward to hearing you guys, and I look forward to getting out of the sun here where it's crazy hot in Louisiana, and I will talk to you guys soon. Hopefully you guys enjoy the module, and stay ethical, everybody. Stay ethical.